Great. Thank you, Hannah, for that brilliant introduction. So I just wanted to kick off talking a little bit about kind of the overarching principles of the report and kind of the approach we took around it. As Hannah's already covered, like parliaments across the world, Westminster had to adapt to this coronavirus crisis. And as we touched on, it did so at impressive speed, setting up this hybrid parliament. And for a while was described as world leading in its response. Obviously, over the last year, we've seen fluctuations in the types of virtual participation that have been allowed, in the amount of parliamentary procedures in which they've been allowed, and some controversial debates, particularly around voting and virtual participation in chamber debates. What this report, the Remotely Representative House, sets out to ask is, what lessons have we learned from the hybrid parliament? And working within those traditions that make Westminster so unique, it makes 21 recommendations for a 21st century parliament. So advocates that the House of Commons continue on a hybrid basis post-pandemic. And we think that will have benefits to the House of Commons, both as a place of democracy, but also as a place of work. I think what happened is, the pandemic magnified the marginalisation and effective exclusion of some MPs. So, one of those really poignant moments, I think, was how Tracy Crouch MP was excluded from participating in a debate on breast cancer whilst at home shielding with breast cancer. But, we've also known for a long time that Parliament's old ways of working have been inadequate, and there have been long-standing barriers to equal participation for both sitting MPs and possible future ones. And I think the Remotely Representative House report comes at a really critical time for Parliament, as Hannah was just saying. We're going to begin to envision what a post-COVID Parliament might look like, and the report offers us a comprehensive reflection on the experience of the House. The hybrid parliament has shown that it is possible to accommodate MPs' need for more modern ways of working. And not only does that have continued benefits post-pandemic for currently sitting MPs, consider, if you did see it, that image of Jonathan Gullis MP cradling his newborn baby whilst participating in a select committee session. But it also has that potential to open up the Commons to a more diverse slate of candidates in the future. Will those images of MPs participating remotely, sitting in their kitchens in front of their microwaves, demystify and normalise the job of being an MP? And if we combine that with the knowledge that if needed, one will be able to participate remotely, could that transform who considers themselves able to fulfil the job of an MP? And we envision that there may be benefits, especially for certain groups, those with caring responsibilities, who may live far from Westminster, who may have fluctuating health conditions. And we know that there are large democratic gains to be made by having this more diversity in our political institutions. But I also want to stress that good parliaments do not just happen. We need political and institutional leaders to act to bring them about. So the Remotely Representative House makes 21 recommendations, including on the continuation of remote participation in select committees, virtual participation in chamber debates, and reconsidering the case for remote voting. But each recommendation is also made the responsibility of a particular individual or group within the House of Commons. At its core, we are proposing that the Commons should continue on a hybrid basis post-pandemic, and this should be the norm for a 21st century Parliament. It would make the House of Commons a world-leading modern institution. And as we are having those conversations about returning to normality and what normal looks like, we cannot ignore questions of inclusiveness and diversity. What our underlying guiding principle is that where there is no meaningful detriment to the overall effectiveness of the House, members should be free and entitled to decide how they participate, whether that's in person or remotely. That's a bold claim and not an uncontentious one, but we also see it as quite a modest one in a lot of ways. So in a future House of Commons, virtual participation should just be another way of doing the job of being an MP. So there may be those MPs who participate always in person, and those whose preference or perhaps need is for virtual participation much, if not all of the time. And as is now, the electorate will decide whether they are well represented by their particular MP's way of working. So in the report, we propose measures that work within the traditions of Parliament and stress the importance of evidence-based approaches to reforms and any opposition to reforms. And together, these would see an effective virtual commons that complements rather than detracts from the physical one. So we don't think there's no merit in physical presence. Indeed, physical presence holds great importance for the effective operation of a parliament. But hybridity has benefited both individual members and the House of Commons and institution. So if we adopt these report's recommendations, it would establish a more inclusive and effective House of Commons than its predecessors, helping Parliament meet those international standards of being a diversity and gender sensitive Parliament, one that looks like those it represents, is hospitable to all, including those with caring responsibilities, illness, or identify as having a disability, and is responsive to the needs and interests of the British public. So I commend this report to you.